and Mike Norvell talking with ESPN staff writer David Hale. Sit down with him and talking about the current state of the program, what happened going into the season, and some misevaluations. Obviously, we've been talking about it for the last month and a half, almost 2 months now, about misevaluating this entire team going into the season. Norvell opened up saying there's clearly been mistakes. A million people can figure out there's a problem, but ultimately, it's about the solutions. It's what you are doing to fix it and make it better. It's a daily process for us. We're staying the course of the improvements that we can control right now, and we're going to continue to help this program get back to where we know it can be and where it had been before. Obviously, to speaking about their 13-0 regular season record. Also, Mike talked about some early struggles in this game. He said we've not been able to handle some of those challenges or some of the results very well this year. Handling the first game, coming off of what happened a season ago, not playing the way we were capable of playing early in the year. The mental part of it has fallen on us, where guys have pressed and maybe not produced to their potential. That's something you've got to work through. He also jumped in and talked about Miami, this upcoming matchup with Cam Ward, and the success that Mario Cristobal is having this season with them being ranked number 6 in the country. He said, I know our record is not anything that anybody's excited about, but we have an opportunity to go play this one. And for us, it's going to be the best of who we are. And we are going to do everything we can to be victorious in this game. Just a little bit further here at the end, Mike Norvell talking about the future, talking about this upcoming offseason, which we've already transitioned a lot of this podcast and going and looking ahead at 2025. He ended off this interview saying, I definitely believe in where this program is going to go. I believe with the work our guys are pouring into it. I'm hoping to see that great step this week. If I felt them letting up, I would tell you. But I don't see that. They care about each other. They believe what is ahead. I believe what these guys can do and can achieve, and now we have to go get it done. That's our focus. Thoughts on this? A lot of these quotes here, because we always get the practice interviews. We always get the instant post-game stuff from Mike Norvell, and it hasn't been so pretty whatsoever, but definitely got some more insight of, calling out, their staff and calling himself out for misevaluating this entire team going into 2024.
Yeah, I guess it's good to see some realism, because it sounds like with the way that things have gone so far, Mike Norvell and this coaching staff have been able to do a little bit of self-reflection and, realize that there were some mistakes made over the offseason with some of the acquisitions that Florida State brought in through the transfer portal. And then, just the way that they saw the team in the spring and in the preseason. It hasn't been the football team that we heard this coaching staff talk about before the ball kicked off in Ireland. It's been a major disappointment. I mean, this team has went, we can beat a dead horse all we want, but below expectation. It's, arguably the worst team in the history of Florida State football. I mean, it's simply been that bad. And, now that they're starting to realize these mistakes, these missteps, you have to hope that they can take the action to go about and begin correcting it.
It's crazy how he went from before the season calling us the fastest, strongest, whatever else hyperbole he wants to use team he's had at Florida State. And it's been by far the most disappointing product he's put on the field. But at the same time, I feel like this is the first real quote we've gotten him all season. Dustin has been very aware of how much I hate coach speak. I rant about it in our Discord. I can't stand it. So I didn't go to the press conference following the Duke game because I just didn't want to hear the exact same things we've been hearing all season. This is the first time I'm like, hey, he's actually saying something that I think he believes he's saying. Now, could I live without the "we have an opportunity ahead of us" quotes? Absolutely, because the team is 1-6. The opportunities don't matter. But at least I can feel he can tell that he messed up. And that's the first sign of that we've seen this season, really.
I think you like hearing that in October. I mean, definitely not because where the team's at, but just right now with getting ready for 2025, I think it's good to hear, okay, I'm taking ownership here. I understand. Yes, we did misevaluate this team. And it wasn't just us. It was everybody that covers this team on the ground and also too nationally. Shoot, I know it was just going into the first game. Nick Saban saw a lot in this team as well going into it. But then, of course, just a few weeks later, he takes some shots at some of the transfer portal guys that left Alabama to come to Florida State. Just this team and the coaching staff didn't do a really good job all over the place. And that's something we've talked about plenty on here, and don't want to just keep beating a dead horse. And I'm glad that Mike Norvell, though, right now is saying, yeah, we've got to look ahead. And he does think this program can get back to where it needs to be. And where it needs to be is where you had a great season in 2023, having that record, reaching the ACC championship, winning the ACC championship, and giving yourself a damn good chance to make that college football playoff. And I'm glad you brought that up, VZ, because we heard a lot about this team. We heard a lot about the physical ability, the speed that a lot of these guys were going to be bringing to the table, that we're going to hopefully help facilitate DJ in this offense. But everything is on the shoulders of Mike Norvell right now, because of right now your biggest problem is offensively and how atrocious it is. It's the worst in college football, and you can't get down the field. There's too many mistakes, discipline, penalty. It's just a lot of bad things. Depth, when we talk about depth, that go to the offensive line, there's no one in there to take someone's place and where it looks better. It's just all over the place offensively, and that's on the shoulders of Mike Norvell. And he now has to make some big time adjustments as we head into the offseason, which we're not even close to yet. But he did say in that interview, he thinks that what they put out there on Saturday night and prime time is going to be the best 2024 squad.
Let me just stop you there. What is the best version of this team that we'll see? It's still not going to be a good football team. The best team,
25 points.
The best team Florida State could put out is still a below average football team compared to what we've seen all season.
Mm-hmm. But I will say, going back to Logan's point about Nick Saban and, the national media and everything, Nick Saban, he went to one Florida State practice. And I mean, even the local beat, we attend a large majority of the practices, but in the spring and in the preseason, we're held out of those scrimmages, which is obviously a very important piece when it comes to evaluating the football team. Mike Norvell, his coaching staff, whether it's on field, off field, they saw every moment, every practice, every lifting session, everything throughout the offseason, the conditioning program. And, still there was all of this hype and, like Austin was saying, all of the bold words that were said about this Florida State team. And I think the hype, if it had been tempered a little bit, it wouldn't be hitting fans as hard as it is currently, because
I don't know. Because the team was 13-0. You can't go.
It's a completely different team. It's a completely different team, and they made a lot of changes. If they would have made it seem like it was more of a retooling year instead of we're chasing a national championship, a playoff berth, another ACC title, I don't know if it stings as bad. It's still not where it's not where you want to be. Like I said, it's the worst football team in FSU program history. But with what they were expected to be and an AP top 10 team, it's arguably one of the worst failures that we've seen in the modern age of the sport.
Too, it's not even just what you're seeing out there product-wise, but the discipline factor, too. That's something that I've been very concerned about, just because that's just not the way things are ran under Mike Norvell. Unless, Dustin, you're hiding it from us and Mike isn't hard on these guys and making him finish plays and making sure he's tucking the ball, making sure that you're not having these penalties. He brings refs out to practices. Unless you're lying to us, he's been the same way in the practices, and then on Saturdays doesn't seem to be the same way, and that's why we're seeing the record that they have. But just so many mistakes that just continue to harm this team, and that they don't like success. You have a couple tries, and you're, okay, this offense is starting to kick here a little bit. Here we go, and you just know in your head as a fan or someone covering the team that a mistake is about to happen, and you're about to go backwards. Just get ready for it, and that happens on a week-to-week basis, and that's just something we're not used to in covering Mike Norvell. And I want him to talk about that as well. What happened to, I know people want the fire on the sideline and everything and whatnot. They want him to see, go after players. And I agree. I want to see that too. There is definitely some players this year that I think deserve where Mike Norvell should be getting up there and, showing discipline. And I'm sure, there's things that happen behind the scenes, but when you're in the game, it sets accountability across the whole board as a team. And it gives some sort of presence as a head coach to show that you have that, I don't know, you're the man that runs the ship. And I think it shows on the sideline more for definitely some of these younger guys, but that hasn't been the case this season. I don't know where that's gone to. And that's just something that has been totally off to me.
And I will say, as far as practice, I feel like Mike Norvell is the same guy. I mean, he's out there pushing these guys. When a mistake is made, he's getting over there to correct that. And sometimes that takes a couple choice words in the process or a different attitude. But, he's bringing that intensity. And, you saw the same thing today, at least from my perspective. Coach Atkins, showing some fire out there. The coaching staff, I mean, they're still dialed in. But yeah, I will say, the attitude on game day, at least from Norvell, it hasn't been what we've seen in years past. And, like he's talked about throughout the season, what he's seen on the practice field isn't showing up on game day. You can kind of say the same thing about his personality.